Pieces do change over time. If they sit around in my studio, if I've shown them once and they're just around the studio, I do add on to them. But this is the first time where I actually have made a commitment to come in every other week and make these changes. And really, it's a lot of it's unplanned, the changes. A lot of it depend on what I've seen or witnessed in the studio, around the studio building. It really is about those distractions and about things that sometimes are just more interesting to contemplate than, you know, than actual setting down to do anything productive. I have some serious attention deficit disorder. You know, I cannot sit. It takes me maybe 2 hours to settle into the studio when I get there because I'm too busy looking out the window, at both windows. There's the window looking out at the parking lot, the post office parking lot, and you know what's going on there. And then there's the train tracks on the other side with all the freight trains, and I see tracks of hobos riding the rails, and I see that it's odd. I see in the wintertime, I can see the snow, and I see one-way tracks, footprints coming from a train, a freight train, onto the ground, and then to my building. And I've always been interested, I always wanted to be an architect, so I've always thought about blueprints, and I've always wanted to rip away the tops of buildings just to look inside, or rip off the sides of the buildings to look inside. And so it's a map of that space, but it's also a map of the cognitive, what goes on inside the head. I mean, this is 25 feet across, it's 7 feet across, up, it's large. I prefer to work in this kind of format so that I can see everything at once. And often I'm sitting over here looking at it thinking, what am I going to join up today? Because I can see this happening and I can see this happening. Today I took away a storyline about squirrels shutting down the NASDAQ. This was a news story back in I want to say back in the 80s. And I took it away because it had its chance to star in the piece, and I can't stand squirrels, and I couldn't stand looking at it anymore, so I had to paint over it, and I decided to put in the trucks with piles of cocaine inside instead, because I felt more comfortable with that being in the piece. I'm terrified of squirrels. A lot of it's really spontaneous. I made a point of not writing this story down, not typing it up on my laptop, which is what I have been doing lately, but this time around I decided not to do that, not to even write any text before I go in. Unfortunately, the text sometimes takes precedent over the drawings, and that's why I decided to not have everything written out beforehand. I've really been trying to have less text in work. The problem with having less text in this piece is that there is actually a lot less text than normal than what you would find in a piece of mine, but the text is so large because it's so high up on the wall, so it has to be readable. It's a day that goes by really fast whenever I come in to make the changes. I can't keep track of time, it goes really fast. I don't prepare for the piece. I mean, I'm looking out windows. I'm asking people, have you seen anything recently? I'm trying to, I'm just sitting there trying to think, well, what am I going to do next? What seems different? Actually, it's funny because today I started writing another artist from the show into my storyline without even thinking about it. And I haven't put his name in that part of the story, but I don't know if I will. But it's funny. I mean, wherever you are, that's what seeps into the story. Anyone can come see it except for the meth cook.